What's going on, Fire Fam? Welcome to the, I guess, Thursday edition of Burn It Down with Kim Brown. This is the safe space where we set oppression ablaze because we understand that things have got to change. If they don't change, the world, or rather capitalism specifically here in America, is going to do us all in very quickly, via gun violence, via COVID, via monkeypox, via lack of health care, via climate change catastrophes. The end is coming. If you were coming here for a positive, feel good moment, no, this ain't it. I'm sorry. I try not to be doom and gloom, but y'all, the evidence surrounding me is very clear. So the least we can do is talk about what's happening, try to come up with solutions, and get these jokes off. Why not? Because why not? Why not make a joke about the end of mankind and humankind on this planet? So there's that. I hope everybody's having a happy Thursday, a pleasant Thursday. Got to say what's going on to all of the good people that are checking in with us today. Shout out to Valley Girls. Shout out to Vesper, Afraid Not. I see David Silberg in here. Imani is in here. Tay Tay is in here. Who else? Alice, come through. Alice, my man's Lewis Kang. Shirley Burley's in here. Who else? We got everybody up in here. Is that Ready Revolutionary? Come through. I'm so excited to see everybody up in the spot. So a couple of things off the top. Some housekeeping notes. Heads up, Monday, June 13th is the third edition of the Fire Fam Disability Support Group Chat. Anna has named it Around the Fire, which is a name I really like. So if you're on Patreon, be looking out for that link to be posted this weekend. The Around the Fire Disability Support Group Chat happens 5 p.m. Eastern. Like I said, this coming Monday, June 13th. If you're not a patron, it's cool. You're still invited, but you just gotta know the password. So you gotta either hit up me or hit up Anna Hart on social media, and we will be sure to get you that link. It's the more the merrier, but the reason I like to keep it a little invite only is because, I mean, we're talking about sensitive issues pertaining to healthcare, health conditions, disability, and this shit is sensitive, right? So I don't want everybody and their mother just thinking they can show up. So you got to get the password from either Anna or myself. Please make a note of that. The other housekeeping note is really just some news to be shared and updated. So here in Maryland, there were reports this afternoon of another mass shooting, this one coming out of Smithburg, Maryland. Maryland is small, but Maryland has so many towns in it that even me as a native Marylander, I have never heard of some of these places. But Smithburg is located in Washington County near Hagerstown. And this was apparently a workplace shooting. They have not released a lot of details, but what they have confirmed is that 3 people have been killed. A 4th person remains in critical condition. And it's another day in America, y'all. It's another day in America. And I don't know, I really wonder what all of these mass violence events does to our collective psyche. I really think it's fucking us up in a very bad way. And not to say that America has not experienced mass violence like this previously. This whole fucking rotten ass settler colony is founded on horrific violence and genocide. But in the 21st century, I don't think that us being subjected to these routine events where a lot of people end up dying, and to me, 3 people dying in one spot is a lot of fucking people when you think about it. Jesus, imagine that you go anywhere and 3 people die, right? I mean, that's a lot of people, yeah? So just keep the families of the victims in your prayers. Apparently, what NBC News is reporting is that the shooter was taken down by local police. So it'll be interesting to see what these latest details are. Also happening tonight are the primetime broadcast of the January 6th committee hearings. I'm not sure I'm going to watch that. This sounds like Democrats' last stand. Like, no, this is what we've been working on for the past 2 years. You dumb some bitches. Why wasn't y'all working on healthcare? Why wasn't y'all working on extending the child care tax credit? How come y'all wasn't working on a lot of other shit? Now, don't get me wrong. I too support January the 6th because that was just a battle, a day that will live in infamy where my enemies proceeded to beat the shit out of each other. Ferd. Yes, turn up. White supremacists getting beat on by the cops, cops beating on white supremacists. I said, who do I cheer for? Who am I rooting for? Because I want everybody to lose. But this is the kind of battle royale I am here for. But the problem is the Democrats have nothing else going for them. So they think they're going to try to make most of America care about who actually was behind January 6th. The problem is you got dumb son bitches like Washington Commanders. I don't even know what Jack Del Rio coaches. Is he the defensive coordinator talking this shit, talking about January 6th was a little dust up? How come we not talking about the looting and burning that Black Lives Matter did? So the people that this broadcast, tonight's primetime broadcast, are intended for, these motherfuckers have already made up their mind. They do not care. They do not care. So there's that. Also, breaking news happening today coming out of Michigan. Thank you, Infinite Content, for tagging me on this. And I think somebody else tagged me on this as well. But prosecutors in Michigan have announced that they are going to charge the officer who murdered 26-year-old Patrick Leoya, who shot him in the back of the head after some bullshit routine traffic stop. I even hate that phraseology, routine traffic stop, because how many people get murdered after a routine traffic stop? Well, if they're black, quite a few. This coming from the guy, 50 Shades Away on Twitter. Police in Michigan shot Patrick Leoya in the back of the head over 2 months ago. They executed this man in cold blood. Today, the officer who pulled the trigger, his name is Christopher Schurr, Schurr, was finally charged with second-degree murder. And I gotta say, I am a tiny bit surprised. I'm glad that this ruthless killer, murderer of an unarmed man minding his business, trying to get away. The fact that police try to justify murdering people who are trying to get away from them, like that shit just continuously blows my mind. It's like, how is this person posing you a mortal threat if all you see is their back, right? Making distance between you and them. How is this an encounter in which you feared for your life? So it will be interesting to see how this plays out in a Michigan court. Of course, we will keep you updated and probably get into the details and the semantics about this next week as we learn more information. But guys, I'm so excited that you guys are here. Thank you all so much for turning up on Tuesday to support the show we had with Justine Barron as we debunked some myths surrounding the death of Baltimore homicide detective Sean Suiter, as depicted in the HBO series We Own the City, that Mr. Suiter committed suicide, and Justine was here to let everybody know, including David Simon, bitch ass, what the real deal is. So we support that, and we thank you all for joining us and supporting that. But today's show is a little different. Today, as you see in the thumbnail, we have Fannie Lou Hamer and Assata Shakur featured, and let that be an indication as to how long that Black women have been enduring state violence, and specifically police violence. This is not a new thing, tragically, and obviously it even precedes Miss Hamer and Miss Shakur. Fannie Lou Hamer, by the way, as we talked about briefly on the Remix Morning Show today, today marks an anniversary on this day in 1963. Now, some reports initially said, not say initially. For example, the Equal Justice Initiative today tweeted out about this anniversary pertaining to Fannie Lou Hamer. And in response, a Black woman historian by the name of Dr. Keisha Blaine replied and said there's a lot of inaccuracies in this. And she wrote a little thread to give us what her research found, what actually happened to Fannie Lou Hamer that day. So let me read from this briefly, because I don't have it on screen, but y'all just going to have to follow along, and I can probably put the link in the chat at some point. But on this day in 1963, Hamer was in fact returning from a voter education workshop. She did not actually sit at a whites only lunch counter. She was on a bus with several other activists who stopped to grab a bite to eat at Staley's Cafe. Miss Hamer's associates were refused service. The police started arresting her friends, so Hamer, who had been on the bus the whole time, finally decided to get off to see what was going on. A white police officer grabbed her and started kicking her. She was arrested and taken to a jail in Winona along with 5 others. A 7th activist was later arrested and tortured with the group. In terms of Hamer's physical injuries, kidney damage, a blood clot in her eye, and an injury that worsened a childhood limp, stating that the beating in 1963 led to her death in 1977 is not accurate. I encourage you to please go to Dr. Keisha Blaine's Twitter page, and she is at Keisha, Keisha Blaine, Blain, and you guys can read that thread for yourself. But being present in a space where Black people are trying to get free, or even having the audacity to speak up and advocate for yourself and speak against maltreatment or mistreatment coming from the white folks, is enough for police to beat on you. Shit, it's enough for grown-ass men who are not police to come and beat on Black women. And we are still seeing this state violence being perpetuated against Black women in very much the same kind of vicious ways. But I wonder why we don't talk about it in the same ways that we talk about police violence against Black men. And let me be very clear, fellas, I'm with y'all. You know what I'm saying? I'm with y'all. I know the police out here fucking up our brothers, and I think that's something that bears ongoing discussion and strategizing around. But we need those conversations to not just be limited to Black men. Black women are also brutalized, murdered by police on the street and in jails behind the wall. So I want us to take a look at some examples, even some present day ones. And by present day, I mean shit that happened this fucking month, because the situation out in Kansas City surrounding the young woman, Leona Hale, who was shot 5 times by police. Initial reports said that she was pregnant. Subsequent reports sort of cast doubt upon that. I believe there was even a piece in the Kansas City Star that quoted her pastor that said that she was not pregnant, but we have not heard directly from Leona, so I don't know what her health situation is. But the good news is, there's good news and bad news coming out of the situation regarding Leona Hale. So Leona Hale survived her injuries. She has been released from the hospital, and upon being released from the hospital, she was promptly charged with 2 felonies. But I want us to take a listen to this package. This is from 41 Action News in Kansas City, and this is from several days ago, but it was from a rally held in support of Leona Hale. And you're going to hear directly from the Black people of Kansas City. Now, you guys know I spent some time in Missouri. That time in Missouri was rough. And let me say it again. Black people in Missouri are fine, okay? St. Louis, fine. Kansas City Negroes, awesome. Missouri itself is oppression. They might as well rename it. Rename that shit to oppression. Is Missouri a native word? Is it synonymous with oppression? Because it feels like oppression. Anytime I have spent time in Missouri, it is oppressive. It really, really the fuck is. And you can understand why Black folks, Black residents of Kansas City are skeptical of whatever the fuck the police have got to say. Because why? The police and the department have a history of lying, But I want us to hear directly from some of the activists, some of the organizers and participants in this rally to support Leona Hale, because the police are now saying that Leona had a gun and pointed a gun at them, right? But the evidence they have released is shaky. Let's call it shaky and sus. Shaky and sus. So let's take a look at this package from 41 Action News at the Leona Hale rally.
Tonight, a rally highlighting the mistrust between parts of our community and the Kansas City Police Department. This after officers shot and injured a woman.
Our community is hurt. We are hurting. We are traumatized.
We've had problems with KCPD, and so I don't trust that department.
Tonight, we are hearing responses from those at the rally. The Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, which announced charges hours ago, Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, who is leading this investigation. The prosecutor's office announced charges against that woman, Leona Hale, earlier this evening. She's charged with unlawful possession of a firearm, exhibiting it in a threatening manner, and resisting arrest. Prosecutors say the charges come after reviewing body camera video. The prosecutor's office sharing this screenshot of the video today showing Hale with a gun in her hand. According to court documents, video surveillance showed officers telling Hale to drop the firearm. This happened Friday outside the Family Dollar at East 6th and Prospect. Officers at the time were investigating the vehicle Hale was in, saying it matched the description of a stolen vehicle. A statement from the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office reads in part, our review of the investigation revealed the defendant, although she denied having a weapon at the time of the encounter with law enforcement officers, continually displayed a weapon during her encounter with police officers and also appeared to be attempting to flee. Hale is still recovering from that shooting at this hour. Our reporter Andres Gutierrez talked with two people who rallied for her today in light of these charges.
Protect Black women!
Those who know of Leona Hale wish there would have been a peaceful outcome rather than what happened Friday night in this Family Dollar parking lot when KCPD opened fire.
We don't care if she did or didn't do what they said she did. She did not deserve to be shot down.
As Hale recovers from her wounds, supporters came together well aware of the charges the 26-year-old woman faces for allegedly having a firearm and, according to law enforcement, pointing that weapon at them.
No matter what we are told happened, did happen, Ms. Hale was a human being. And could have been any one of our mothers, sisters, cousins, aunties, for whatever reason. We would want them to be brought in safely and not be shot 5 times. We would not want that.
Activist Justice Gatson organized this evening's gathering and questions this single image of Hale holding a gun released by the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, who says it came from one of the officer's body cameras.
It's the first time we've seen that photograph, and I can't speak to legitimacy of it. We've had problems with KCPD, and so I don't trust that department.
Following today's charges against Hale, Missouri State Highway Patrol said their investigation continues, and once it's complete, it'll be submitted to the Jackson County prosecutor for a final review.
My baby walks to this store. There was other children and families in the store, in the parking lot that witnessed this. Our community is hurt. We are hurting. We are traumatized. We are tired of feeling like our deaths don't matter, our pain don't matter, our tears don't matter, our struggles don't matter. They do. They do.
In Kansas City, Andres Gutierrez, KSHB 41 News.
I gotta say, let me give some credit to Andres Gutierrez and 41 Action News right there, because I watched the Fox affiliate in Kansas City. I want to say maybe it's Fox 4 Kansas City, and dog, they presented that shit way different. It was a black reporter. I think his name was like Malik Jackson. I'm like, Malik, what the fuck? But Malik got up there on the Fox affiliate in Kansas City and was like, see, look at this irrefutable evidence of Leona Hale holding a gun. And how can people support her? I mean, I'm paraphrasing here their package, but it was very much skewed towards the police and the prosecution narrative of what they say. So here's my thing. I'm with the people up there out Kansas City, because if the evidence is so irrefutable, then why don't you release the body cam? They've only released this still photo, and it's pointing to it like, see, there it is. That she did it. But even circling back for a moment, so I am with them. the folks, the people, them. I'm skeptical of that quote unquote evidence. Shit can be doctored. Police manufacture, manipulate, create evidence all the fucking time. We have no expectation that truly any law enforcement agency in the United States is not capable of this. They totally are capable of this. This is how they maintain and hold power, by lying on people and ruining their lives and putting them in jail. But here's my question. So, okay, let's play along. Let's say Leona Hale had the gun. Let's say she did point it at cops, but that doesn't make any sense either because they said that she was disobeying commands and she was trying to get away. Okay, all right. And eyewitnesses allegedly saw her unarmed, not holding anything. How come they didn't light up the Buffalo shooter, the person, Peyton, who shot up 10 people, murdered 10 innocent black folks in Buffalo at the Top supermarket? How is it that white people are able to carry guns, murder people, and walk out alive, uninjured, not hospitalized, perfectly healthy? But allegedly, this woman holding a gun is enough to light her ass up 5 times, to shoot her 5 times. I am so grateful that Leona has survived this. I don't know too many people who get shot 5 times by the cops, get shot 5 times, period, and survive. So that is a testament to Leona's strength. As I said, she has already been charged with 2 felonies. She has posted bonds, so she is out of jail. So I definitely believe that they are going to try to obviously throw the book at Leona, make an example out of Leona. So I'm hoping, I haven't seen anything yet, but if you come across some crowdfunding links for Leona Hale and her legal representation, please let me know, because that's some shit I would like to contribute to, because we need to stand up for our sisters in spite of whatever the media narrative is, because America is so racist and has such deep misogynoir, right? We are inclined, and I mean we kind of as a public, not fucking us because we know better, but this simple ass society that we live in is very, very quick to not only accept the police accounting and the police version of events, but if it's about black people, in particular black women, there is a big belief that we are unruly. We need a harsh hand. We need a firm discipline. We need to be policed very hard. You got to be, and anyway, as a black woman, I feel this all the time, but you know, white folks and men never miss a chance to put us in our place. They never miss a chance to put us in our place. You black bitches are doing too much. Got to knock y'all down a few pegs. But we're going to keep an eye on the story pertaining to Leona Hale. I hope that Leona Hale is found innocent. It seems as though the community is behind her. And regardless, like that sister in the package said, even if she did what they say that she did not deserve to be shot 5 times like she was some sort of rabid wild animal. No, they could have brought her in without incident. They totally could, because guess what? They find ways to bring white folks in uninjured and alive and without harming them. So if they can do that with white folks, they can do that with us. But the problem is they're not going to do that with us because they are trained to kill us, regardless if it's a violent offense, if it's a traffic stop, if it's somebody truly just standing, minding their business, doesn't matter. Police are trained to murder black people and brown people and usually do not face any consequences, as seems to be the case here in Kansas City. Let's see here. Where shall we go? Oh, let me read this actually real quick. If we could get A2 Tunde, just so I can be clear here in what I'm citing and the information that I am giving y'all. This is from the KSHB. And the piece, it just reads, following her release from the hospital, Leona Hale was booked into jail. She's 26 years old. She appeared Friday as an inmate at the Jackson County Detention Center in KC-Mo. Hale is charged with 2 felonies, including unlawful possession of a firearm, an unlawful use of a weapon, and resisting arrest, which is a misdemeanor. Her bond was set at $25,000, which is a very reasonable bond, including an option to post 10% bail and be released from jail. Hale posted $2,500 on June 3rd and was released. The shooting of Hale by police, a male and a female officer both opened fire, according to information from the Jackson County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, stirred up controversy and accounts from eyewitnesses that have proven untrue. Again, the bias, the cop slant. I am disappointed in some of these local news agencies. Like, if the police say it's true, then it must be true, right? I can't stand this default reaction to just report the police accounting of things as if it is indisputable. I mean, we just talked about this on Tuesday with the alleged suicide of Sean Suter. The police said it was a suicide. Oh, the media, it must be suicide. It's like, God damn, y'all motherfuckers don't have no fucking critical thinking skills. Like, y'all just accept like lemmings, like the most gullible, stupid fucking children. You just accept the shit. It's just so weird to me. It's antithetical to what the fuck I believe, right? As a reporter and as a journalist. Like, nope, if the police are talking, they are probably lying. And that brings us to our next case. Let's go to Knoxville, Tennessee. Speaking of, if the police are talking, they are probably lying. This is a story that I stumbled across a couple of weeks ago. And I've kind of just been sitting on it because I've been wanting to talk about it, because it's the kind of case pertaining to police brutality against Black women that is not going to make national news because the woman survived. The woman was later exonerated, but it's such an endemic example of the ways in which Black women are subjected to police violence and the ways that we don't even really talk about. Now, let me give everybody a very clear and distinct trigger warning for this, because let me preface this again. The woman survived. She is alive, okay? She is suing the Knoxville police. So take that at the onset and know that it has a happy ending. Maybe happy is not the right word, but it does not have a tragic ending at the end. So just be aware of that. And the video that you're about to see came from the body cam of a Knoxville police officer who was pursuing 21-year-old, I believe her name is Trinity Clark. And Trinity is a college student, and she was on her way home. And the police, where we're going to pick this up, because the full length video shows the police officer. You see Trinity drive by him. He was already he was wrapping up a previous traffic stop. So she drives by, and she's out of view for maybe 5 or 10 seconds. And then he gets in his car and starts to haul ass to try to find her, right? So where the video is going to pick up, it's going to pick up right when he catches up with her. But by this time, Trinity has parked her car, she has exited her car, and she's about to walk into the house when she is confronted and accosted by this Knoxville police officer, whom has a bad reputation for lying on his police reports, lying to his supervisors, and eventually was forced to resign from the department after he was being charged with a number of different crimes. But this is one of the crimes in which it is obvious that this cop targeted this woman because she was Black and continued to brutalize her because she was Black. I just cannot see happening to a white woman what you guys are about to see happen to this Black woman. So let's take a look at this. This is Knoxville Police Department, y'all. Let's check this out.
36 Delta. I'm North Hembrook, Linden. Got a Ford Fusion, silver in color. Trying to evade.
I got out my car about right here where the tree branches are. The officer later pulled up behind me. He didn't have his lights on until he came outside his car. And I was standing roughly almost at the front steps.
Come here.
I pulled you over. Come here. Yeah, I did. Get over here.
And he started yelling at me, demanding me to come here, and I felt very unsafe, so I stayed right there near the porch.
Yeah, I did. Get over here. 36 Delta, start me another unit. What's wrong? Come here.
And I asked him could he come to me and speak to me directly where I was on the porch, and he comes over.
What's going on?
Stands over here, doesn't ask me or doesn't tell me nothing was wrong. And I asked multiple times, did I do anything? What was I getting arrested for? What was I getting detained for? There was no response.
What's going on?
Nothing.
Okay.
What you want? I didn't do nothing. You tripping. Hey, bro, you tripping. What the fuck is this? Hey, bro. Bro, you tell me I'm a motherfucking shirt, bro. The fuck is wrong with you?
36 Delta,
Come on, mama. The fuck? Move, I got no shirt on,
You're being detained.
Move, I don't got no shirt on, bitch.
You're being detained.
Move, my titties are out. Stupid ass bitch. What's going on? Bro, move, my titties are out, bitch. Move, bitch. I'm not fucking playing, bro. Bro, I don't got no shirt on, no. We fucked up.
Now you not even all that serious. Don't come up here for me. Y'all don't have none of that. It ain't.
Get in the house. How about that?
Mama!
Bro, somebody call my mom.
36 Delta, get us some units up here. We got people coming to the house.
Trinity, what's your mama?
Yeah, I'm gonna carry.
3, 2, 1.
Bro, move, my titties are out. If y'all don't fucking move.
Get your hands out.
No, I don't have no fucking bra on. Fuck y'all. Bro. Bro, let me the fuck go. I don't got no mother. Mama. Call my fucking mama, bro.
2816 Landon. Oh, y'all better get DLC in the house.
Get the fuck off of me, y'all. Bro, get off of me, y'all.
Put your hands on your fucking back right now, goddammit.
Bro, go.
Hands on your back.
My fucking
Put your hands on your fucking back. Easy.
And I was just tussling through the yard with him, trying to cover myself up because I didn't have a bra on. I had no idea that he was arresting me for any of the things that he accused me of. I never knew what his reason was behind the whole situation.
With regard to the evading arrest, I'm going to dismiss that, the felony. The simple possession, the assault on the first responder, the driving on a suspended license, I just don't see the probable cause. To me, this is disturbing. I'm going to dismiss everything. Everything is dismissed.
What can you even say to that, y'all? What can you even say to that? And I see the reactions in the chat, and I apologize for showing this to you, but For those who do not know what police brutality looks like against Black women, that's a very perfect example of it. And Courtney, I saw you in the chat saying that he was groping her. Yes, the fuck he was. Who else said it in the chat that was sexual assault all fucking day? It was sexual assault. And again, that is an edited version. That's a clip version. That's the version that we edited for the purposes of time, because the video, the original video posted online is I think it's over 13 minutes in duration. And you see further that night in the front yard in that Knoxville neighborhood where the cop, his name is Officer Roberts, who has since I can't say he got fired, he resigned actually, but anyway, he was telling big lies. Like he was saying, oh, she punched me in the nose, I think I need to go to the hospital. She didn't punch you in the fucking nose. How? You was on top of her. You didn't even give her a chance to do anything. Didn't ask for identification. He just jumped on her like she was a fucking man. Like she was a fucking man. And I don't even know if he would have jumped on a man like that. But let's talk about Officer Roberts real quick, because Trinity, the victim there, Trinity is filing a civil suit against the Knoxville Police Department. Right on. Let's pop up A6, Tunde. But this piece of shit cop, and it just goes to show you, it ain't no few bad apples. No, a few bad apples spoils the bunch is how the saying goes. And this dickhead was only on the force less than 10 years, so he don't have no whole lot of experience. This is how somebody clearly trained him, right? Let's take a look, because guess what? He has done some other shit as well. This headline for this article says, Knoxville police officer pleads guilty to tampering with records, then resigns. Oh, isn't that nice? He got a chance to resign. I don't even know if he was even being considered for being fired, despite being charged. A Knoxville police officer who had been suspended as the department reviewed his actions in a high-speed chase separate from this one incident that we just saw, for his actions in a high-speed chase, was arrested on Thursday on charges that he destroyed or tampered with records. Joseph Roberts resigned Thursday after pleading guilty to the felony charges. District Attorney Charm, Charm Allen, said in a news release, Roberts lied on an arrest report, she said. So let me brief you really quick on this incident, which is, again, a separate incident from the one that we just saw. Really quick, Officer Roberts engaged in a high-speed pursuit on Knoxville area freeways during rush hour, where speeds got up to over 100 miles per hour. He allegedly turned off his dash cam, right, and turned off his body cam. But tricky, apparently when you turn off these cameras, and if the police car starts to exceed a certain speed, the cameras will turn back on, and he didn't know that. So the cameras turned back on. He's engaged in this high-speed pursuit of this, it was a Black woman driving, and she ended up crashing her car, and 3 people got injured. And when the police came to the scene and asked Roberts what the fuck happened, he lied. He lied all about it. So I don't even know if he was found culpable of anything pertaining to that sexual assault that we witnessed on Trinity. If we could pop up 88 there, Tunde. This is from knoxnews.com. Cops' lies reveal gap in how KPD commanders review use of force incidents, because in that sexual assault that we saw happen on Trinity Clark by Officer Roberts, let me pick up the article. It says, what's more, 3 of Roberts' supervisors reviewed his arrest of Clark, and none raised concerns about his conduct other than his raised voice and foul language. It was the pursuit of Clark, however, that led to the foundation for exposing Roberts' pattern of behavior and ultimately forcing Knoxville Police Department to deal with it. Well, they didn't fucking deal with it, now did they? It sounded as though the district attorney dealt with it and charged him, but his supervisors reviewed his conduct, and the only thing they found issue with was the fact that he was using foul language. Not the fact that he lacked probable cause to engage this woman in the first place. Not the fact that he viciously assaulted her without reason, without cause, and then lied about it after. It was just, he was using bad language. He needed to use better language, better language. Let me, there was one last thing I want to get to, and then we're going to be joined with a guest in just a few short moments. But I wanted to highlight how Black women far too often, for anyone's comfort really, are murdered behind the wall. And when I first kind of became aware of how prevalent and pervasive an issue it was, it happened, I want to say maybe this was 2015 in Northern Virginia. There was a Black woman by the name of Natasha McKenna, who was placed on a mental health hold, right? And she was locked up. And the police and the corrections officers came into her cell and they tased her to death. They tased her to death. She was naked. She was naked and they tased her to death and nothing happened to them. And I just thought, wow, if you think that Black women or Black people out here in the world ain't got no rights, you know they got negative rights, negative zero rights when incarcerated. And the story of what happened to this woman, this Black woman who is from Louisville, but she was held in a Southern Indiana jail and she was found dead. And beyond her being found dead, she was found poisoned. How the fuck did she get poisoned, or who poisoned her in jail? And her family, understandably, is very distraught about it. So I want us to take a look at this, and then we're going to be joined with our guests. So let's take a look at this piece from WDRB. This is from December, I believe, of 2021. So this is somewhat recent. And if you don't know this woman's name, then you need to know it right now. So let's take a listen.
All y'all should be just as mad as I am, because I'm pissed.
It's the update. Ranisha Morel dreaded.
So I will go home and I will look at my sister's pictures. I would know that I tried.
No charges in the death of her sister, Tanisha Chappelle, in July. The Jackson County prosecutor released it in a 15-page report Friday.
We shouldn't have to fight this hard.
The 23-year-old died shortly after she was transported from the jail to Chenectadi Memorial Hospital, days after her death. Ranisha said Jackson County Sheriff Rick Meyer gave her misinformation.
Why did Rick Myers tell us that my sister had some type of ingestion of toxic? He got it from somewhere.
WDRB obtained the ER report revealing antifreeze poisoning was one of several possibilities in her death, but lab tests came back negative. According to the prosecutor's report, the autopsy findings of the forensic pathologist were a cause of death listed as a probable toxicity of unknown substance with manner of death being undetermined, meaning she likely died of poisoning, but investigators don't know what it was.
It's one thing to go be shot, killed, robbed, whatever, and y'all got answers, but it's another thing for your sibling to be in this system that our tax dollars pay for, and they don't have no answers.
Morel says closing this case only fuels the fight for justice.
Hopefully somebody hears us. Hopefully somebody with some higher authority and power come out and step with us.
And the fight for her sister is far from over.
Because we can't do it by ourselves.
The family is working to view surveillance video from the hours leading up to Tanisha's death. In the meantime, they've called for a federal investigation and currently have an ongoing civil case.
What can we do to support these families, guys? Because a lot of times, like Kalonji Changa says on BPM, I mean, there's so many names. There's so many of us who have been brutalized and murdered by the system. It is so hard and even traumatizing to the broader community to try to keep up with these names. But it's important that we have to keep up with these names. We have to lift up Tanisha Chappelle's name and lift up her family, because who else is going to do it? Who else is going to do it? And like the comrades on BPM keep encouraging us all, and this is a self-drag, to join an organization. Well, I think we have an opportunity right here to kind of get more information about perhaps joining an organization and to get more information about a convention that starts tomorrow, lasting through the weekend, for the National Black Radical Political Convention operating June 10th through June 12th. And today we're joined with one of the members. We're joined with Brother Khalid Rahim, who is joining us today from the NBRPC. Khalid, I'm so excited that you were able to make some time to join us. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share some information and perhaps share some perspective with your viewing and your listening audience. So it's an honor to be here.
Thank you, and we are honored to have you. So this year's convention starts tomorrow, and the theme is Building Principled Unity. But for people who are not familiar with the organization, the NBRPC, can you just give us, fill us in? What is your organization about? What do you stand for? And how long have you been around? And where can people find more information?
Well, actually, this is a brand new initiative. We represent several groups and organizations who decided to come together to organize this particular type of convention that will focus on not just Black politics, but revolutionary and radical Black politics. Our contention is that the Black community is being misled in many different ways. And that doesn't mean that the people who are doing the misleading are actually ill-intended people. Some are, but not all are. We think they're just caught up in the system that they don't quite understand and can't quite get a grip on. And for some, they're just not willing to stand up and to really fight back for something that's truly radical and independent, and something that really speaks to the best interests, the best collective interests of the Black community. So there were several of us who came together, and we decided, in the spirit of the 1972 National Black Political Convention that was held in Gary, Indiana, we decided to come together and organize a radical Black political convention that would represent perhaps historically those voices from 1972 that indeed have been marginalized, those voices that call for radical Black politics and not traditional, what we call neo-colonial, or the politics of the Black bourgeoisie, right? We need Black folks who are going to represent us politically, who really call out the truth, who don't just posture, who don't just wear the colors, the red, black, and green, who don't just use the imagery and the rhetoric of Black oppression and exploitation, but who actually take the bull by the horns and make a move to do what is necessary to bring about some relief and some justice for our people as we pursue the overall goal, which is Black freedom and Black liberation. And so we think it's important to use electoral politics as a vehicle and as a tool to forward that type of agenda, not just to help people's individual political careers and profiles, not just to fatten the pockets of career Black politicians, and not just to keep them walking in the circle of self-entitlement and neo-colonialism. So we wanted to challenge all of that. And so that's what this is really all about.
It sounds fascinating, Khalid. And, you know, we talk about electoral politics. Personally, I participate in electoral politics, but really out of ancestral obligation, not because I really believe in anybody that's on the ballot. And most importantly, I believe in participating in local elections, because that is where your vote, I believe, can make the most good and have the most impact. But I'm curious. I mean, talk to me about what the NBRPC's strategies are when it comes to electoral politics, because as we've seen generationally, you know, when certain people get into office, certain Black folks get into office, somehow they forget. they somehow forget what the everyday lived experiences are. People even within their districts who are still suffering. They come to Washington. If we're talking about, you know, the congressional people come to Washington and they get co-opted very, very quickly. So how do you see electoral politics being used as a tool, despite the corrupt system, as a way to advance our goals?
Well, first and foremost, a lot of that corruption is rooted in our political relationship to the Democratic Party. So let's be clear. We all know that historically it was the Republican Party that sold out the national Black community after the so-called end of slavery, and after Reconstruction was basically deconstructed. And so we know it was the Republican Party that sold us out in the late 1800s. But after the relative success of the basic civil rights legislation, it was the Democratic Party that went on to sell out the Black community. So we know about the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and even before that, the Civil Rights Bill, Civil Rights Act of 1964. And then after the assassination of Dr. King, literally weeks after the assassination of Dr. King, the passage of the 1968 Fair Housing Bills or Housing Acts. The Democratic Party has been selling out the Black community for decades now. We don't utilize our political capital with any type of wisdom. And so just as you spoke of earlier, you vote out of ancestral dedication or obligation. The majority of us do that, right? We vote out of a sense of obligation to the Democratic Party for what we think were major bills to advance our overall freedom and liberation from the 1960s. Well, that time has passed, and we've had 50 years to reflect on the ups and downs of being absolute loyalists to the Democratic Party, or sometimes even tactical or strategic loyalists to the Republican Party. What we're saying is that we need to have independent, truly independent, radical and revolutionary Black politics. That needs to become what is most common within the Black community in terms of how we deal with politics. And some people will say, well, brother, I don't deal with politics. And so what we say is, well, you don't have to deal with politics. Politics will deal with you. So if you run a business, if you work for someone, you still pay taxes either way. And so if you walk away from your duty and obligation to try to have some say so over how people use tax revenues, including your tax dollars, then they will continue to use your tax dollars to expand police powers, to grow the police forces that kill and murder Black women and Black children and Black people on a daily basis. It will use your tax revenues and use your tax dollars to bomb Africans and Asians and Muslims all around the world just to control their natural resources. They will use your tax dollars because, again, you don't do anything political. So they use your tax dollars and revenues to pursue their own political agenda. So everything is indeed political. It determines how people come to your door to knock on your door to serve a warrant, or whether they kick your door in at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning with a SWAT team. Everything is political, whether they pick your trash and garbage up on time, or whether your trash and garbage sits on your curb or sits on your sidewalk for days and weeks at a time. Everything is political. So yeah, we have to call to the carpet, and we have to call to account those so-called traditional Black politicians who haven't really done too much of anything to benefit the collective interests of the Black community. Most of them are career politicians. Most of them take their orders from the Democratic Party establishment. Some take their orders from the Republican Party, establishment, but they don't do anything to pursue what we genuinely need as we move towards freedom and liberation collectively. And I'm not talking about a small select clique or group of Black people. I'm talking about what's in the best interest of 45 to 50 million deep Black people, the vast majority of whom are not celebrities, right? Don't make millions of dollars, aren't billionaires, don't have luxury condos, and some are living from day to day, mouth to mouth, and from hand to mouth. So we need to be able to create politics that can speak to the needs of that particular segment within the Black community. And we need politics that will defend Black people's right to defend ourselves against racist police and against white vigilante forces as well.
So Khalid, I'm curious, what you're describing sounds like building an external political apparatus independent of the Democratic Party, but there are so many within our community who have said, hey, finally, I suppose, Black people have somewhat of a stake in the Democratic Party, because it's been framed as though as long as it's not Trump, it's got to be good, right? Vote blue no matter who. And if you don't vote blue, then we see consequences of right-wing political extremism in taking away women's right to abortion. But on the other side, obviously, Democrats are sending billions to the police department. So we don't have a safe political home in either of these political parties. So are you suggesting that the third party option be built for Black people, or do we continue to try to radicalize the Democratic Party from the inside by accepting that political path to elected office?
Well, listen, let me respond to your last question first. if you look at it historically, the majority of Black people who have attempted to change the Democratic Party have failed. As a matter of fact, the only change that has really occurred has been a change in them. So the Democratic Party doesn't change, they ultimately change, right? They transition from the militant, powerful, radical, revolutionary brothers and sisters that we heard about or that we may know into basically, relatively blasé, passive, watered down, melted down versions of their former selves. So no, you can't change the Democratic Party from within. We have 50 years of evidence to show that. 50 years of hard, cold evidence to show that. And in terms of how people use the emergence of Trumpism to somehow force Black people to vote completely for the Democratic Party, that's absurd. The Democratic Party has used the same tactic every 4 years during presidential elections for the last 50 or 60 years, whether it's Trump, whether it's Gerald Ford, whether it's Richard Nixon, whoever, right? The Republican candidate is always touted in front of the Black community as the boogeyman. And if we don't somehow vote for the Democratic candidate, then we're going to be pushed back into picking cotton again. That's absurd. I'm not saying that it isn't possible for us to be pushed back into a situation where we have to confront fascism in a very naked, real way, as many of us continue to do periodically, especially if you look at the expressions of white racist vigilante violence and police violence and state violence directed towards segments within the Black community. But the bottom line is this: if you look at the condition and state of the national Black community for the last 50 years or so, in all the major cities and not so major cities across this country with any substantial Black population, those communities and those cities, those municipalities and those jurisdictions, for the most part, have not been governed by the Republicans. Those jurisdictions have been governed and managed by members of the Democratic Party. In the early years, they were white faces. In the latter years, they became more blacker and browner faces. It still has not altered the material conditions of the vast majority of the Black community. So when you look at cities like Chicago, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Detroit, really, we've had Black and brown managers within these particular municipalities for decades now. Sometimes we've had successive Black and brown mayors and county executives, okay? But what about the concrete material conditions for the Black community? It continues to deteriorate. It has not substantially or substantively improved for the vast majority of our people. For a small clique, for a small crew, for a small cast, yes, there has been material advancement and improvement, but for the vast majority, it just hasn't happened. And one of the reasons it hasn't happened is because we have a misguided and misaligned allegiance to Democratic Party bureaucrats in politics. And we think that the only way that we can advance in any substantive way collectively as Black people is to continue to tie our wagon to this donkey. What we say is unhitch your wagon to the donkey, hook up with the panther, follow the politics that was originally developed for the Black community, which was the politics of the Black Panther Party. And I'm not talking just about the Black Panther Party for self-defense under Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. I'm talking about the Black Panther Party that emerged out of Lowndes County, Alabama. Follow the politics, independent, radical Black politics. Follow that politics. Unhitch your wagon to that damn donkey and to that mule, which has misled you and misguided you now for at least 5 decades or more. Come to this convention, support this convention, join the National Black Radical Political Convention, and let's get down to the business of building independent, radical, Black political parties and mechanisms that can truly address our issues that won't sell us out, no matter who is in the White House or who isn't in the White House, that won't use boogeyman politics to persuade us to vote against our own collective interests.
Amazing. And yeah, we are the audience for what you're talking about, Khalid, because yeah, we do not support the political duopoly here, least of all the Democratic Party, who keep playing in our faces. I don't know how else to say it. But let's talk about building principled unity, which is the theme of this year's Black National Black Radical Political Convention. What are some of the topics surrounding building political unity that are going to be discussed this weekend, and who are some of the people that will be speaking?
Well, I can't give you a list of so-called celebrity speakers. We don't really engage in that type of stuff.
Oh,
But
that's
I
okay.
can share with you. I can share with
Who are the
you
real people there? Who are the real people that will be there?
I can share with you our core principles. Our core
Yes.
principles are we're anti-capitalist, we're anti-imperialist, we demand freedom for all political prisoners, especially Black political prisoners. We uphold the rights of Black women to engage in all levels of struggle. And we recognize the special oppression that is experienced and faced by Black women across this country and around the world and throughout the African diaspora. We also think it's very important that we support Black radical candidates who run for office, right? We want to hold them accountable. And we know that they will uphold these particular core principles for those who get involved with this particular initiative. We also believe in what we define as proportionate political representation, which simply means that we want political representation that reflects the demographics within our respective municipalities. So let's say, for example, if we live in a city where the Black population is 35%, and we want to have 35% of all the contracts, and not just construction contracts, but professional service contracts as well, like accounting, engineering, so forth and so on. So right now, these are some of the core principles that guide the National Black Radical Political Convention. We hope to emerge from this, with some other goals, short-term goals and long-term goals. We also hope to emerge from this with a greater sense of purpose and a greater sense of direction in terms of what it means to engage in electoral political struggle, right? We also hope to educate our communities on a much broader basis about what our real, genuine political interests are, and to get people to understand that to be political is to just be a human being, that everything we do, every way that we engage one another is certainly political. Right? We talk about politics, we talk about the struggle to control the resources within your own communities, within your neighborhoods. We talk about the struggle to determine how those resources are going to be allocated for the better good. That's politics. That's what politics is essentially all about. What we're saying is that our politics for the collective Black community must be a radical politic. It can't be a passive politic. It can't be the politics that continues to perpetuate our own exploitation and oppression. It has to be a politics that really speaks truth to power and not just challenges, or rather not just speaks the truth to power, but actually challenges those that have power for the right to rule, right? We're just not talking, we want power too. So ultimately, that's what this is all about. We have to fight against those forces that oppress us, fight against those forces that exploit us, and challenge them for their right to rule over us. And so that's what we mean when we talk about a Black radical political convention in the true sense of the word. We ain't pulling no punches. We ain't taking no prisoners. So for those out there, if you think this is the place for you to be so you could become the new darling or the new star for the Democratic Party establishment, or you want to become the go-to person for the Black Republicans and maybe the Black conservative groups, please don't show up here. This is not the spot for you. Our politics is the politics in the spirit of Ella Baker, in the spirit of the Black Panther Party, in the spirit of the Republic of New Africa, in the spirit of people who fought hard for Black people to have the right to vote and the right to run for office, which means no, not exclusively the right to be a Democrat or the right to run under the Democratic Party banner. That's not what people shed their blood for. That's not what people went to prison for. People shed their blood and they went to prison for the right to vote, for the right to run for office. And part of that meant being independent. I was having a conversation with a comrade of mine not too long ago, and we were talking about, some of the social movement that emerged after the end of chattel slavery. And what I reminded them is that when you just read the narrative, right, there were no Black people who said, for example, well, now that we're free, we just can't wait to go align ourselves and integrate ourselves into the white community. That's not what people were saying. People were talking about, well, now that we're free, I need to go find my family. I need to go look for my wife. I need to look for my children. I need to look for my husband. We need to get some land. We need to start our own borough, start our own municipality. And that's what many freed Black people did. Many freed Black people did not aggressively seek to integrate themselves physically into majority white communities. That was a scheme that came about some decades later to dilute both our political power as well as control our economic power, right? Free Black people wanted to be free and independent, and they wanted to continue to be self-determining. But somehow or another, through the shenanigans of the Republican Party that sold us out, that dismantled Reconstruction, that never came about. So we've been tricked once by the Republicans. We've been tricked again by the Democrats. It's time for us to stop being tricks and learn how to be real men and women and be independent and self-determining.
Say that. So for those who are interested in joining this weekend's convention, when do things kick off, and where can people register or find out more information about the different discussions that are going to be held throughout Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
They can go to mbrpc.org, and they could get some information about the upcoming convention. I did post something here, and they can go to the registration pages there. People can register if they're close, they want to show up in person. Some people want to participate online or virtually. You can register either way.
I didn't realize part of it was being held in person. Where's the location? Is it in Pittsburgh?
Yes, Pittsburgh, PA.
Oh, okay. Come on, Pittsburgh, come through.
Yeah. So if you're close, you can come in person. If not, you can get online. And
Perfect.
we will be here. What we say now, this is not a free for all. So this is not one of those big time Black community meetings where we all just get together and we kick the bobo and we talk about how bad white folks are and how bad capitalism, white supremacy is. This is not that type of thing. We're here to really engage one another. We're going to have some debates, some arguments. We're going to cuss each other out. But in the end, we're going to emerge with a national Black radical political agenda that will serve as the basis for how we do political work, how we operate when it comes to dealing with electoral politics. So all that being said, we have people coming as representatives of their particular municipalities, i.e. as representatives of their particular states or colonial territories, as we call them. So we're talking about U.S. Virgin Islands or Puerto Rico. United States claims that they don't have any colonies. They call them territories, but you and I both know that Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and Guam, and maybe another two places that I've left out, please forgive me, are indeed U.S. colonies. They're indeed U.S. colonial possessions. So we're saying there's space for all of that representation at this particular Black political convention, radical Black political convention. So the people who show up, you're coming here to represent your state or your colonial possession. You're coming here to talk about and to discuss the issues that matter to you, where you live. You're talking about how we can develop a national Black radical political, agenda, and how that can be the basis and the foundations from which we operate as we deal with electoral politics as a tool and instrument to pursue our liberation. It is certainly not something that we just need to say is going to free us completely, because we're not going to be able to vote our way to freedom, right? I was listening very closely to your segment before, and the bottom line is Black men and Black women need to train and arm up and protect themselves against vicious white supremacists, and that includes the police department. We can't depend on the justice system to do the right thing all the time. Most of the time, it will not. And when we're in the moment, in the immediate moment, there needs to be intervention. We need to have men and women to intervene and stop the police from stripping a woman naked, from tasing and beating a woman. We need brothers and sisters to rise up, stop being so damn afraid. People want to point to the Black Panther Party. They want to talk about Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, but they don't want to do what the Panthers did and do what Huey and Bobby done. They don't want to do those type of interventions, and they can be risky, right? And it can be dangerous, but put a damn mask on, put some gloves on, and stop the police from beating and killing us. Do something. And when you start to do more of that, guess what's going to happen? At some point, it will escalate because they're going to try to take our heart. But at some point, the cop that's riding next to the crazy cop going to say, dude, If you do that crazy stuff one more time, we get back to the station, I'm going to report you behind, and I'm going to ask to be reassigned away from you because I'm trying to get home at night. I don't want them dudes to be shooting at me. I don't want them to be throwing stuff at me, trying to kill me because of your racist foolishness. We have a right to protect ourselves as human beings. It's nothing to do with the U.S. Constitution. It's nothing to do with your city charter. It's everything to do with the rights that we all have as living, breathing human beings. We have a right to exist, and that means we have a right to protect that right to continue to exist. And if that means fighting back physically, then we need to learn how to do that. And so, we believe in that type of politics too. We believe in the politics of self-defense, whether it's individual self-defense, whether it's group defense, especially for groups that have been targeted and that can clearly document decades and years and centuries of racist violence, oppression, and exploitation. We have a right to rise up, organize amongst ourselves, not just politically, right, but in self-defense units as well, and to fight back. So we're not about passive politics. We're not about turn the other cheekism. We're not about bootstrapism. This is about radical, revolutionary politics that is truly comprehensive. We deal with the right to vote, but we also believe in the right to exist, and they have to support each other.
Absolutely. Guys, we have been joined with Brother Khalid Rahim from the National Black Radical Political Convention. The convention starts tomorrow, Friday, June 10th, goes through June 12th. I dropped the link in the chat. You can please go to the website, mbrpc.org. If you're in the Pittsburgh area or in Western Pennsylvania, go on to the Burgh and try to attend in person. But if you can't, there is virtual registration available, so you can still watch and participate online as well. Khalid, I'm so grateful that you were able to make time to join us and to talk about the convention. And please, I would love to have you back on either here or on the Remix Morning Show over on Black Power Media once you guys got the agenda in hand, so we can go over it and figure out what are the next steps, what are the things that we need to, as we said, build principled unity in our community so we can thrive and survive, not just exist. So I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, guys. The National Black Radical Political Convention this weekend, Fire Fam. Like I said, I dropped the link in the chat. So if you have some time this weekend, if the weather is not good where you are and you're going to be in the house all weekend, please consider signing up for the convention virtually so you can participate. I appreciate all of you hanging out tonight. This is definitely a not typical show for us on a Thursday, but so just a reminder, there is no show tomorrow, gang, no show tomorrow, but we will be back here on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Also, just housekeeping. Monday is the Around the Fire disability support chat for the Fire Fam patrons. That link will be posted this weekend. If you are not a patron and you want to participate and attend Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, either reach out to myself or reach out to Anna Hart, and we will be sure to get you that link. So this is something that we are now in our third month, Anna. And it's really cute. It's really cute. We rock about a dirty dozen for the first two events that we have had. So, the more the merrier. Come on through. We would love to have you in there. It is very much a safe space. Don't feel obligated to turn your cameras on. We are very sensitive to everybody's situation. So I want to thank you all so much. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you, Afraid Not, Franny Francais. Thank you. Young green card. I love that young green card. Come on in. David Silberg in here, or did he go back over to watch Jackie on the left lens? Zainab, thank you so much for coming through. Court and Latif, thank you guys for modding so strong for y'all as you always do. Quaker Anarchist. Just a quick reminder, guys, the Camp Day Day people, they are still fundraising. So follow Camp Day Day on social media. We are going to support the Camp Day Day action that is happening Labor Day 2022 up in the Hamptons. Shout out to the Bank Sisters. Shout out to all the people doing the damn thing, supporting Camp Day Day. So we will probably have them back on. We will have them back on before Labor Day, so people can continue to get updated on the latest status of the actions. But they are accepting donations, so if you're able to support them in any material way, please follow the good Camp Day Day people online and do that. COVID is out here jumping on people. Did y'all know that? COVID is out here jumping on people. So is the monkeypox. So goddamn, I need us to please, I can't say pretend that we're still in a pandemic, because we never left the pandemic. The pandemic has never left us. The pandemic has been ongoing, so we are still very much in a pandemic. So please wash your hands, wear your mask indoors. I don't give a fuck if people look at you crazy or even say crazy shit to you. Wear your mask indoors. Don't play no goddamn games out here, because long COVID is real. Long COVID is real, and monkeypox is jumping on people too. So stop dapping people up. And strap up. Apparently, monkeypox is passed through sex. There's so many things about monkeypox that I know now that I do not want to know about monkeypox. But just generally, please be careful. We live in very strange times out here, gang. So we will see you guys back here Tuesday, 7 p.m. Please have a great weekend. Have a great, safe, and enjoyable weekend. On behalf of Tunde and Molly, thank you all so much. We love y'all. See y'all later. Bye-bye. Love you, Fire Fam.